Hello, Alex here, and I just want to share with you my great experience to visiting in the ditch, the Inventive Group, and I went with Bob Hendrickson from Steelcase, my good friend and mentor. I went to visit Mr. the one and only Ceccarelli from In the Ditch. What a character! What a leader! What a human being! And his team, amazing, incredible.
Hey there, Bob Hendrickson coming to you from Steelcase in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Just a quick message to say thanks to Chuck and the team for hosting Alex and I, and for sharing all of your challenges, your successes, and just the unbelievable transparency, and spending the entire day with us. I was blown away at the lean model that you've created. You have set the bar high with how intentional you have been about literally everything. So what you are making, how you make it, and especially the special lean culture that you've created. It was very obvious from everyone we spoke to, everyone we listened to, that In the Ditch is a very special place to work. So thank you. My hat's off to you. You have created paradise.
Whole time, we thought a T-type leader was a T for Toyota.
And Chuck was explaining us this concept about the T-type leader, where the T is formed because the vertical side of the T is mastering Gemba, and that takes around 7 years to get a mastering about knowledge in Gemba. And then the T, the top, the horizontal line of the T is going to be the branching out to learning other items, other processes, other departments, other areas.
And then year 1 to 3, we're expecting that's about how long it's going to take you to become a team member, and you start to get some mastery of the team member task. Then usually around year 3 to 5, your roots are getting bigger and the branches are coming out, and now you're a department leader. Then you move into a group leader, and after about 7 years to a lifetime, you really start to branch out, and you really start to understand everything we're going to show you here. And that makes sense. It's a process on how we do things, and it doesn't matter which department. It's always the same. When you're a team member here, my job is to make the other person look good. So if welding wants powder coat to look good, they're going to give them the product in the exact order that they need it to hang it on the powder coating line. If powder coating wants packaging to look good, they're going to give it in the order. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's phenomenal. In place, remember, the snowflake never blames itself for the blizzard. We're going to all hold hands. We're going to take this journey together. If you hurt someone, say you're sorry. And by the way, it doesn't say whether you were right or wrong. Don't take what's not yours. That isn't just stealing. It means a lot of other things to us. It's our operate. So somebody said to me that it's really hard to meet your guys' standards. And I said, well, if you really think about it, that's not complicated. You learned this at about 5 years old. The difference is we hold you to these. So what's the Japanese philosophy that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear? If you ever once say, man, I want to study for this, we go into attack mode. We'll meet you at lunch, we'll meet you after work, we'll meet you and we'll coach you. We have it on our internal website. When you pass this, you sit in front of 2 to 3 people, and when you pass it, you get a quarter an hour raise. You need to go Genchi Genbutsu, and I don't want to see you for 2 days. He come back and I go, what'd you learn now? And he goes, holy crap, I didn't realize how hot it was down there. I didn't realize how many distractions. I didn't realize how slow the computer was. I didn't understand how uncomfortable the chairs were. Does that make sense? And we really evolved. Genchi Genbutsu is insanely powerful. We did a value stream map on from the time we wrote a purchase order, one purchase order, and followed it through the entire building. If we did one a day, they walked 138 miles a year. And I said, why are we printing purchase orders? And nobody had a good answer. So we all made a decision to go paperless that day. And everybody said, hey. And then everybody went and cried because we had no idea how to do it. And the first month we saved $15,000. And we've been saving over $15,000 a month, which now has led to just a whole bunch of apps that we've been developing, and it's just been, but it all started with everybody saying, instead of, oh,
And boy, in the first minutes, just hearing Chuck, I knew we were in there for a treat. He is so humble. He knows these concepts in and out with a different point of view that I have never listened to. It was just really, really interesting to see how Chuck is thinking and his team.
and we would do poke-yoke, and we would have defects. And we were all frustrated, like, it's not working. And then we reread it, and what they said was to help and prevent the generation of most defects, not all of them. And that was like a revelation to us to say, okay, if we do poke-yoke and we still have defects, it doesn't mean we're a failure, but we did prevent some of the defects. So now let's celebrate that. And now let's go a little bit further. Our goal is to have full automation, but whenever we have automation struggles, we get closer with the human touch, and we start surrounding the machine closer and closer and closer and closer. And sometimes it's down to where we're actually doing the work manually until we start to trust the automation, and then we start backing away from it. Does that make sense? So, and that was the biggest thing we really probably learned from Leiker, is when you walk on the shop floor, does the team member know whether they're winning or losing? And that was pretty profound. Just how can you go home at the end of the day with your head held high if you don't know
If you did good or not.
We're excited to show you something. We're within being able to measure that within seconds.
How do you position the Japanese terms? Like, do people say, why do we have to learn that it's Haijunka? Why don't we just call it something in English? Or don't you ever get that?
So we teach it in the class that we teach with respect for Toyota.
Yeah.
We teach these in the exact way that they say them out of respect
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, love
So
it.
we always put thanks Toyota. So they're the two pillars that hold up the house of Toyota. Toyota production, respect for people,
The house.
and continuous improvement. We have been trying to find a better way to represent that in ourselves, and I can't. Like, if you look at the whole world as a whole, if you think about respect for people and continuous improvement, and then you say Genchi Genbutsu, like, I don't want to get political, but I was talking about like the police, defunding or not. Genchi Genbutsu, you want to change it? Go ride with a policeman for a week. No, seriously, like, how much difference would that make in the world? But we can't, sometimes we just can't find anything better, so we're using it, but whenever we use it verbatim, we always say, thank you, Toyota. Nowhere, how are you gonna get all these perfect people that never make mistakes? And I was really about ready to give up. And then I believe it was Shigeo Shingo wrote something, and it said, the first assumption when an employee makes a mistake must not be that the employee made the mistake, but there's a flaw in the system that allowed the mistake to occur. And it was like a revelation. And that's when I realized I don't have to have perfect people, we have to have perfect processes. And it was like the world open up. As Alan Mullally said, we started to come out of the swamp and into the light. Then I understood from Toyota that what they're looking for in leadership, first and foremost, is somebody that can commit to self-development. And what I was doing is I was taking a person, we were trying to take a person who didn't even want to improve themselves and expecting them to create reliable, stable processes. It's not going to happen. Look for people that want to commit to self-development. And some of the ways we do that is Thursdays we have leadership training here from 7:30 to 8 in the morning, and we don't pay you to come. What do we get on average? 50, 60 people? At least every Thursday. We've been doing this now for over 10 years.
People come from 7 to 8.
7:30 in the morning till 8 on Thursdays.
Without pay.
Just
to learn.
Just to learn. And that tells you immediately. Other businesses are blown away. But you're not forced to come.
So you make it voluntary and you don't pay, so you see who comes.
So there you go. Now you immediately see who's going to commit to it. And as we're walking by the swimming pool, as we walk through the Gimba, the shop, everybody's out there treading water. And when you see that person saying, hey, pull me up, I want to learn more, you grab them, wrap your arms around them, pull them out of the tool, and we give them everything we got. Does that make sense? And then we're going to teach them, that person, to understand and represent our culture. Everybody in this room needs to be able to give this exact same speech that I'm giving. Then it's their job to coach and develop others, support daily improvement, and then they have to participate. If you're not checking these boxes, you're not going to be a leader here. End of story. Get all over the shop. Anybody can change anything as long as they meet with at least 2 other people that can help them make the decision, and that's the God's honest truth. It has to be 2 people that can best help you make the decision, and one of them should be the originator.
Okay.
So if there's a trash can taped out and you want to move it, you need to ask around and say, who taped it out first? They need to be invited to the party. You're not going to go into my kitchen and start changing stuff.
Right. There was a reason for it.
Right. There was everything we've done, from the tape measures we carry to these name badges to the shirts. 2 to 3 people made that decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we're encouraging that every day. Every one of these is a verbal, in theory, test. You take this in front of a panel, and if you pass it, you get a 25-cent an hour raise. You don't even have to completely own it. Is that a fair assessment? You have to have a good grasp of.
You know, they don't have to know this word for word. What we're looking for is that you understand waiting is a waste, and why it's a waste, and why it's important to recognize it as a waste on each one of these. As long as they have that concept of it. If they have 2 words off in here, that's okay. They understand the waste and they can be looking for it, and they're going to help us eliminate it.
What starts Kaizen in the beginning? It starts with the decision to try. And somebody saying, what if? So you guys remember the first 4 or 5 years, if you literally said, I want to take my first test, at that moment, we would have said, Alex, you just got a 25-cent an hour raise. For what? For just trying. Just trying. And we said, now don't tell nobody, but since you've agreed to try, sit down and let's talk for a little bit about it. We want to get you some mini wins, right? Just try it. So we believe your number 1 job here is to train your replacement every day. And then we believe that a person from Mars should be able to parachute in and do your job.
Because the standards are
Because
there.
of the standards. And they're severe. Yeah. So what do you do when a vendor fails you? You usually order more parts so they don't fail you again. Even though you don't want more inventory, you buy more inventory. And what do you do if a machine breaks down? We bought a second machine as a backup, even though we didn't have room for it. And what do you do if employees are sick? You get a little heavy on the payroll because you got to hire 3 to get 2, right? And then I realized we're never going to become a lean company unless we start operating as if we're in paradise. Our machines, if you ask any of the group leaders around here, What do you do if a machine breaks down? They should say, why would our machines break down? We don't let them break down. This is paradise. And our mindset is, we're not going to let our machines break down. What do you do if a vendor fails you? Why would a vendor fail us? Why would they let us down? We're in constant communication with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we now can set our sales up perfect. We don't stock any more than we need. We go in with the mindset that this sale is going to be paradise and everything is perfect, rather than going into it saying, what if, and what if? We're just not gonna let those happen. Like, I met a guy named Caleb Chung. He invented the Furby. He's from Boise. And he said you should start looking at things as if it was on the Starship Enterprise. What should our welding department look like if it was on the Starship Enterprise? He talked about a simple fan in the room. He says, what should a simple fan do in the future? And somebody said, it should blow to where the heat is. And he says, do you know for like 60 cents, we could put a couple sensors in the room that would dictate where the heat is and the fan could blow to it. And you would really separate yourself from the competition. But you have to think about does that make sense? I don't care how things were built last year. I really don't. What we want to know is how they're going to be done in the future. Sorry, I get wound up on this stuff. But the paradise was a big, big change for us, mindset shift. Welcome to paradise.
We have a morning meeting and every department goes over the same information. So our group, everybody knows that we've got the training room. We have a lead word of the day. So we do shout outs also. So shout outs, we give our own internal currency. We have reps point. So if somebody catches somebody doing something good, we're going to come to Thursday and we're going to let everybody know.
So as you see, every morning they have a very short meeting, but they keep it nice and sweet. But on Thursdays is the big meeting where they invite everyone to participate in their own free will. They don't get paid and they're not paying to teach them. So it's all voluntary.
In 20s, 50s, and $100 increments. And when somebody catches somebody doing good, they come to the Thursday meeting or at their morning meeting and they say, I want to shout out. There was a bunch of shout outs today because people got here early and shoveled snow. And so I want to give them 20 reps bucks. Then what we do at the end of the year, instead of Christmas bonuses, last year we bought about $20,000 worth of prizes, like $1,000 necklace, canoes, chainsaws, a rifle. And you could take your reps bucks and you trade them in for raffle tickets. And then you can put the raffle tickets on the prizes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so there is a big reward at the end of the year. But we really want to celebrate shout outs, catching people doing something.
Red team is a group of 3 people who are trained in problem solving.
So Chuck has understood from Toyota that stopping the line, like Taichi Ono, he explained, used to really force his people to stop. So he really is trying to do it through this red team, which is a team that is inviting to bring problems on the table. And the way it works is, first they use these andons, and when the yellow light goes on means they have 10 minutes when they're struggling to try to find a solution locally. But when they don't do it in 10 minutes, they go into a red light, and that red light is calling the A team, the red team, to not to fix the problem, but to guide them.
And they're starting to struggle. And they raise their hand. Hey, I'm struggling, I need a little bit of help. So they can turn that andon light to yellow, and that's saying, I'm having some struggles, I'm slowing down, I could use some local help. And our policy is we don't want the department leader to come solve the problem. We don't want them to come, the department leader, when it's yellow. We want it to try to be solved locally. Does that make sense? And they have 10 minutes, Kristen? They start a timer. And if at the end of 10 minutes they can't solve the problem, then the hand goes higher and they turn it to red. And then the department leader will come help. But just like if you had a son or daughter in school and they raise their hand, you would not want the teacher to give them the answer. You would want them to teach them problem solving skills. And that's what we're trying to do.
So we started out with, 3 of our stronger lean problem solving people being on the red team that could really come in and help. Right buttons, and we all have these cards in our pocket. Right now what we currently have is 1 seasoned person on the red team and then 2 up and coming leaders so that we can mentor them and train them.
Help is going to come. They're not going to get blown off. Does that make sense? Yeah. And when they activate the red team, their goal is to respond to that incident within 10 minutes to create this level of urgency.
We want to meet as a group together before we go to that problem area.
It's kind of like when there's a fire on the shop floor, right? We don't want a fire truck coming from here because everybody's scattered when they're on the red team. Somebody might be from welding, somebody from admin, and somebody from engineering. We don't want them to get there ahead of the other person. Where's the fire? What are you going to do? Your job is to get together prior, the 3 of you, and compose yourself. Number 1 rule to responding to an accident is to keep the accident from getting bigger. We don't want to blow in there guns a-blazing and look like we don't know what we're doing. We get all 3 of these people together and we say, all right, let's compose ourselves. What's our job? If he's the leader on that event, he's going to say, look, remember our job is to coach them and mentor them, because when you tell people what to do, you take away ownership and responsibility. And we're going to use the Socratic method. Use the 5 whys, and we're going to gather detailed information. We found we have to do that around the corner, or we just get so excited, we run down.
Our goal is not to solve the problem, but it's to steer them in the right direction to solve the problem for themselves, so that they get the experience from that. We're going to use the Socratic method, right? We're going to ask those questions. We're going to try to get them to illuminate the ideas and really get that going.
And the red team has a process to do a handshake to make sure to capture what they can do better for the next time.
What could we change if we were able to do this all again?
Toyota company has about 2,000 employees. Do you know how many times a day they pull the cord in an average Toyota factory?
Thousands.
Over 15,000 times a day on average. So in each day, each employee, an average of 7 times. And we're saying, we don't have enough problems. And that's why your buttons says, bring me your problems.
Okay. No problem is problem.
Yeah, yeah. Problems is like posting death certificates. You get a lot of shock and awe, but it really didn't fix the problem.
Right.
And we're really developing a lot of problem solvers, but we still would think we should be getting 20 or 30 a day. This has been rewarding those that have a problem, celebrating it when
That
they have a problem.
escalate. Those that escalate.
All right, let's do a tour.
And in the break, I was able to get away and look at their restrooms. They were just fantastic. Judge by yourselves. I couldn't find one single bad spot. And I love what Chuck told me. He says, I put my lean management principles so people keep me accountable for them. I see this over and over again. Every leader that has been very successful, they understand the respect for people, giving them and investing on good installations and good place to work. And there's no doubt that this place follows the Taiichi Ohno's 10 commands and really follows it and makes it public. And there's 2 things that really jump out when you're walking through the shop is 1, the sense of humor and having fun throughout the whole entire team is evident, and the investment that Chuck puts to make this really paradise is evident. The first thing walking through the shop, we went to this area which was impeccable. It was R&D, and it was just amazing to see that they have built their own tables. There have been creation of toolboxes, of pegboards, and there was a result of the crisis from the pandemic. They couldn't get the items or services that they want. And these guys are developing from their own softwares to their own machines to their own tables. I mean, this is out of this world.
Outside heat exchangers. Okay. So they take the cold air and heat it, right? And blow it in. And we take that hot air all the way across the shop, and the robots and the welding are at the end of the shop and exhaust it. So we take this heat and use it across the whole shop, right? But then what we did is because our powder line is so hot and our lasers bring so much heat, this is probably blowing cold air in now because we're using the heat off of the machinery to heat the whole building. It's pretty impressive, and it keeps it clean.
And they also built these Pocayoke items in yellow so they would make sure that the heist of the forklift would not hit the door when open. And Chuck took the Daiichi Ono circle and he made these rings to train people and get them out there looking at problems.
Training is we take everybody out on the shop floor and she'll have them stand in certain areas for, what are you going to do? 30 minutes. Okay. And just observe.
And I can tell that they keep the rope tight and there's a lot of respect and order in this place. And I asked Chuck, how do you get organized? How do you keep it so top notch? One respect. The departments.
Ownership. Everybody tries to make the other person look good, so when you use the forklift, you clean it for the next person.
And it was incredible. These guys make everything. Look at those desks. Look at the workstation. Look at that orange with black mezzanine. They made it specifically to meet their needs. Look at that workstation. Aren't they gorgeous? And I could just go walking everywhere and find examples from their cards, their storage for Kanban bins. Look at this keyboard station, their workstation there for the laser cut. You could see all their tools. They modified the bench. They had a little tray for the cutoffs. I mean, these guys are high-level thinkers.
My mentor, he said, "Why do we wear a uniform?" And I said, "Because chicks dig it." He goes, "No, it gives people permission to ask you a question." Are you familiar with the term Minomi card? No?
So Minomi in Japanese means peanut without a shell. And applied to the carts means we don't want any boxes or packages to be delivered through these carts. The carts should be easily handled and easy to put parts, to hang parts in these carts to facilitate the handling in the right position for the next person to use the parts. So it's a really unique concept of ergonomics.
It's our understanding that a Minomi cart is a cart that delivers the product that you hang it on in the order for the next process. Okay. So we made our own carts. When the laser cuts the part, they want to deliver it to the press brake in the order that they need it because they want to make them look good. So this Minomi part, everything's set in the order that they need it. So they don't have to dig through parts. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then when they bend it, exact order that the welding department needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it was a beautiful teaching from Chuck about Naomi cards, and especially the mindset of leaving something better for others, right? Leaving it better than we find it as we know it. Well, here it's making the other person look good. And take a look at these robots. They were really cool. They were wandering around through the shop, moving the carts, which moving transportation is waste, and that's wasted talent as well. So they had that going on very well.
Our assembly number here, how many parts of that product are on the cart, the person who ordered it, the sales order number, and the date that it was placed.
And each of these Naomi carts have a plate. As you can see, a lot of information linked to a software that they have developed themselves. And that's really interesting because there's no limitation into what they want to solve when they get their heads around it.
This cart gets us all the way through production, so it's telling me where on the back this part's going to travel, who does the work, and the date they complete it. And then we're digital, we use Dropbox for our orders, so as soon as all of the products hit assembly, we circle them and we know we have it all, we send the order to be invoiced, and we ship it.
Because all the other ERP systems and stuff, they didn't do what we wanted, right? There was not a lot of value added, so we made our own. And we think we might become a software company from it. We don't want to lose focus, but it's pretty amazing. How many people truly understand Lean at the level that we're trying to understand it that can write software for it?
Yeah.
Not many.
No.
Not even a handful. We couldn't find software that does what we needed it to do. So much of it's superfluous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the things that's very important to understand is we're true FIFO. So this part and that part are identical. He's going to bend this one and this one. Then he's going to do this, and reset, do that exact same setup. We don't batch. We'll do 100 plus tooling changes a day per press run.
How many?
100 plus a day. Because we believe in SMED.
Impressive.
We believe, like it's being at a hamburger stand, right? We're not going to cook all the hamburgers at once and then try to serve them all at once. It's first in, first out, and we're disciplined to it.
Wow.
And then do a tooling change, bend apart, and put the same tooling back in.
But they have perfected the SMED process to set up their dies. They made this cart where everything is handy and it's just hundreds of little improvements in order to be efficient and really high level.
This bin here has 32 bins, I think, in it.
Another point that is very evident is that Chuck and his team identified great technologies and they're applying it to their process. They had this really cool 3D visual guidance on how to operate the product into this bending machine, and that goes throughout the shop. A lot of technology, top.
It brings me inside the table, so when we box something, we can box it right on the table.
So they used to take the box and build it and move it to the banding machine.
Oh.
And then they would go from the banding machine to the scale. So we built internal scales into the table, built the banding machine in. Can you raise and lower it? And this is part of our power desk. We raised the whole workstation.
That's good for people like me, because I actually people like me.
Show up the paper cruncher. I'm sure you've seen these, but we used to waste time crunching paper. And now we don't waste time crunching.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I love it a lot. It's nice because they really put the people in mind when we work at these stations. So they've made it very easy for anyone to come over here and work.
Have they asked you for your input of how you want it, or?
Yes. Yeah, we actually, when we moved over here, we chose how we wanted these tables to be.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, have I ever asked you to do anything?
No.
Have you ever had to ask my permission for a single thing?
Nope.
We try to empower you to make the decision, right?
We do. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You'll see it glue tape on the floor. So everywhere there's glue tape, that's us trying something. Every day we're different. Hey, I didn't like that part there yesterday. He gets the two other people. Let's try it here. We'll glue tape it and test it. As soon as we like it, then we'll get the yellow tape.
The socks.
Oh, all my socks.
It's Friday. They have sock Fridays.
Fun Sock Fridays.
See, John's got yours.
And they're always looking to ways to have fun. There was, for example, here the Socks Friday, or they would have Flintstone little music chime every time they get an order in every sale. So every time they try to find ways to have fun and enjoy their work.
Michael from Yellow Tools introduced us to the cardboard mulcher.
Okay.
And It takes our wasted cardboard that we were throwing in the dumpster. We now run it through a machine and make this packing material.
So you're reusing the trash
Yeah,
cardboard.
Using it. Now they're trying to figure out where to put it, and you know, like Paul Akers says, down and dirty. They just made a box and they're just running some experiments.
So we found one of these recognition student of the class, and what it is, it's the best student of some training. They give that to them and they put it on their workspace. They were really proud of it. I thought that was very cool. And take a look at these racks that they made to storage their materials. And inside the design of the rack, it's embedded the shape and number of parts to storage. So they have a Kanban system and they have no way of adding more material in the racks, so it's not overproduction. There's no extra inventory. I found their workbenches just gorgeous. They really make a great job. Then we went to see a system called Pick to Light, which is a order pickling technology for warehouses that is really utilizing the LED lights and racks or shelf systems to indicate the pick locations and then guide that person throughout their work. No paperwork, no mumble jumble. It's super cool, really easy, intuitive, and it's fun. And each one of the lights is showing how many parts you need to grab on each item. And it has a 2 Kanban system, therefore they never run out of parts. What is really interesting is at the end there's a check box where you have to weigh all the parts that you have taken and see if it matches what the weight's supposed to be. It's kind of like a poka-yoke. I was still amazed with the robots, and I asked Chuck, do you ever get run over one of these? And this is what he did. And everywhere I looked, there was a Kanban 2-bin system. It was amazing. Everything in its place and orderly.
Oh, it's a 2-bin system.
Okay, 2-bin system. This is the current use.
Yep.
When that is done,
Triggers
the second, and then you write up here what you when it was done and how many.
Yep, just like this.
Right.
So we have several different people that order. They put their initial and the date. So this was ordered by James. That's his first initial and his last initial on 12/8. We have Darren. We have a whole purchasing department that orders.
Per department, there's a water spider
There
dedicated
is,
to that.
Yep. And if I see it, if I happen to notice it first, I can order it too. I have it on my phone. All the group leads have the capability as well.
Okay.
But we have a department that's responsible for ordering it,
Their own.
receiving it, and stocking it.
And this department goes around the whole plant
Yep.
to check.
And it's everybody's opportunity to help them, right? We're trying to make them look good. So if I notice, hey, James came through already and he ordered and he didn't see this, I'm gonna take this to my lead and say, hey, James ordered already. I know this lead had ordered, and we're gonna go get it handled. But everybody is trained in this system to watch out for the next person. So we're always all looking.
Okay.
It's not just on one person to do all of this. Everybody's watching.
And then I spotted these andon lights in the restroom, and I thought I'm gonna go and check this out. Look at a nice wash station and everything that you need, drinking water, first aid, consumables, paper towel, everything was impeccable. I went inside. It was spotless. It was even better than the ones up front. I thought maybe up front was the exception, but no, they have pride. For sure, it keeps the rope tight.
We just get tired of people letting us down.
Man.
I was telling Alex we made our own lockers. So nobody made a locker that held a welding helmet.
Okay.
And so we made our own. Welding helmet, tape measure, safety glasses, good stout coat hanger for your welding jackets. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And
Love it.
we haven't launched them, but
Take a look at the welding area, the light, the air, it's clean, nothing in the floor. adjustable benches that they made with these slack little doors so nothing falls off. It was just out of this world with 2 computers, 2 screens, everything you need.
Incredible. It's a lovely place to work.
You can't even tell it's a welding
The
station.
tables are amazing. It's so much better than sneakers and you can raise them up and down.
Yeah, they're fully.
And then someone pulled us in, hey, do you want to see a test that I'm running? I'm running an experiment. And they showed us the 2 robots that are welding the unit. They explained us that this idea that they came up with will save them 75% improvement of productivity. And here in the back, they put a loader, so in masket time, they're loading a part, so it switches, it turns the table, and it's starting to weld the next item. And the amount of different Minomi carts is incredible. They really make an effort to make the other person look good, make them their life easier. And again, having fun, each one of the teams pick their name of their cell. That's pretty hilarious. And take a look at the level of excellence that Chuck has in his mind and it's transmitting to his team. He found 2 cards off and he didn't say anything, just put them back in its place.
Chuck, what does your day look like? How much time do you spend on the shop floor here? And
Well, I would tell everybody in a good day, I'm down here 3 to 5 times a day walking. But, ideally I would be walking through 3 to 5 times a day. But very rarely would I be doing anything other than maybe asking questions of the group leader in the area.
okay,
I found that if I ask questions of the team members, they freak out.
yeah.
And
Why is
maybe
that?
I don't understand their level of training yet, and it's kind of unfair.
Right,
You know what I mean?
got it.
They build everything. They even build this booth to pressure wash and degrease their parts. And we visited this powder coating area that was so immaculate, so nice, so clean. It was unbelievable. And they had this pokayoke in yellow that triggered if one part would hit, then it would stop the line so it wouldn't hit inside the oven. And we could see all these different items. They applied FIFO, first in, first out. And with so many products, I asked Chuck, how do you do to keep up with all these different products?
So I shut us down for 18 months with no new product development. Show them the parts library.
So at one point, Chuck pulled the cord and stopped. And for 18 months, he didn't develop more products, but instead, he organized all the folders so they would know everything about the product, anyone in the plant, how to assemble it, where it come, how to manufacture it, the drawings, everything about that product. And I thought that was fantastic. And look at this chemical containments, the second containment, and wheels. Isn't that fantastic? You could move them around wherever you need. And I thought that was really cool. Of course, they made them. And I found through the shop this little lean cave, little boutique with all the little cutoffs that they have leftovers. They made tags, so they standardized a way to put all of their consumables. Isn't that gorgeous? And look at this workstation here, cleaning station with the happy faces. And they use a happy face to know what way it should be put back. Then we noticed how they were programming with different colors of the layout of the sheet metal that is going to be cut in the lasers. And this is exactly to know whose order it is and which one goes first. So as they cut out the parts and they send them to the next process, they apply FIFO. And the level of automation was unreal. Chuck showed us how there's this system, this magazine that is changing, manipulating all of the sheet metal. You see the tower back there? Well, that tower is full of sheet metal, and these carts bring it in and out of the machine, and it is fully automatic. Isn't that gorgeous? Just temporary things so they can
Temporary
run.
until you like it, and then you set it in stone.
They're running the experiment. And I could appreciate these guards that they made for their rack system so they don't bump into them and then it would have an accident. They don't take any space, really custom made just for them. And I had never ever seen this before. The level of mindset of being premium in everything they do was clear for me from start to finish.
Well, from Chuck down, that we mean what we say. That's, you hear it said that, hey, it's important to show up to work on time. Here, show up to work on time because we mean what we say. If you look at our core values all the way from commitment to self-development, coach and develop others, we actually do these things. And that's one of the great attractions for me personally to be in here, is that we mean what we say. Yep, there's not that hypocrisy, right? Talk the talk, you walk the talk here, or you don't fit in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that, and they're like, it's almost midnight. This machine's too big. And Ono says, then why are we here? No, I mean, why are you here? The world is full of excuses. We need people that can get shit done. And we do. Like, I like to say there's those that do and those that do, and we do what we know. That's one thing I always tell everybody. Go with what you know. And I know he cannot lead from being outside of the Gemba. It's impossible. The further from the Gemba the decisions are made, the worse the decisions will be.